Aaron Lewis from Liberty Norfleet here with Tommy Lepore here from Hello everyone, welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Had Dave Penning on the show here Tuesday. It was a lot of fun talking to him. Game 7's got some great stuff coming up, tournament baseball. We were down at Ballparks of America this past weekend. Kevin, how you doing, man? I got to ask you this question. Have you been down to Ballparks of America?
I have not. I am doing great, doing well. Ballparks of America, that's in Joplin area, right? I'm sorry, Branson area. Sorry.
Yeah, Branson.
I misspoke.
It's all right. If you haven't been there, it's a nice complex. I mean, it's built in that old Tanger Mall that was in Branson,
Very cool.
Yeah, it's huge complex, and the fields are looking good. They're doing a great job down there. If you get a chance to go down and watch tournament, probably when your kids get older, if they're playing ball or whatnot, I'm sure that might be on the agenda.
Had a 6U game last night, so I'm sure I'm a couple years away, but probably on a crash course for that facility here in the next couple of years, I'd imagine.
6U, huh? How'd it go?
Well, I guess technically 7U. It went good. We're having fun with it, having a good fall season.
Are you doing the coach pitch, or are you doing the machine pitch, or is it T-ball?
Machine pitch.
I think I like the machine pitch better than the coach pitch. Agreed?
100%.
Yeah. You get a little more consistency in the ball for the kids, I think, with the machine pitch, from what I've seen, and I think that's pretty cool. We did the machine pitch when Justin was little. I always liked it better. I did.
Yeah.
Where'd you guys play at? Was it Kirkwood? Are they still got?
We were at Ballin Athletic last night.
The old ancient park.
That's what you call Ballin?
It's been around a while, right?
It's been around a while. Tried and true. It's a nice facility.
I saw Scott Van Slyke play at that ballpark, number 1 there, when he was with Baldwin Legion.
Okay.
That's been a minute ago, right?
I played my Legion home games there as well in high school. So yeah, it has been around a while, and I call that the best amateur concession stand in St. Louis.
Yeah, it's pretty. I never thought about that
tough
before.
To beat.
It is, isn't it?
It's really high end.
I like that stadium. It's a nice stadium to watch a ball game in. It has a great atmosphere. It's got a great just a real baseball atmosphere as far as stadium goes, right?
It is also a great place for a high school, like a district championship or something, because it's big. It's real dimensions. You play a college baseball game, a pro game on there. I mean, that's a good sized field. And they have a nice grandstands area, and it kind of sits down a little bit, and it's a nice park.
It is. It really is. So you played ball at Baldwin there. What Legion was that? What post was that?
I was Kirkwood Legion.
So Kirkwood was playing there too, huh?
Yes.
Wow, that's interesting. I know Kirkwood still has their American Legion. Do you know where they're playing now?
I think the high school, but I'm not 100% about that.
Yeah, that would make sense, right? That would make sense.
Yeah,
that's interesting because I know I always thought it was kind of odd, but Baldwin, they're back because I think their field kind of went down for a little bit, but they've done a lot of work there at Baldwin Athletic. They've done a lot of work on the field there because the Baldwin Legion program moved and was playing at Ellisville Athletic Complex on field number 1 for quite some time, and I guess now they're back at Baldwin Athletic there.
Baldwin Athletic, okay.
Yeah, Yeah, so that's pretty recent as well. So I think that's good. I like that park. I enjoy going and watching baseball there. And I'm going to have to go now and go back, and we might have to do a concession stand round, man. You and I just go around and check out concession stands. Give them a rating. Be fun, right?
Absolutely.
I wouldn't mind
They
that.
have my rating. It's a 10 out of 10.
There you go. Way to go, Baldwin Athletic. All right. We just last week you got one other event coming up here. It's October 23rd. You're going to be out at the Sports Barn, correct?
Yeah, did St. Louis Fall Open out at the Sports Barn. Just good way to wrap up the fall for us. Some players couldn't make a couple of our other main events in the fall due to you know playing on their fall teams and out of town tournaments, or maybe they had a football game or something, and it just gives us one last event. Sometimes guys want to check their numbers heading into the off season, and then come out of it and go into the off season, and then come back and right before the high school season, kind of just see their improvements. So it's a little good way for us to conclude our fall calendar.
Very good. Very good. So if you're looking to get into that, go to the website. Check it out. All the information's there, prepbaseballreport.com. Also, I want to go back to this because I want, as you can see there, comment below. If you have a favorite concession stand, as Kevin put Baldwin at number one there right off the get-go.
Now, amateur concession stand, like you can't count Busch Stadium or something like that. That doesn't count. Gateway Grizzlies, they have phenomenal concessions, but yeah.
Okay, so amateur, local stuff, a CNH, what other
Yeah.
ballparks do we have, like Bridgeton? Because Bridgeton up there has some pretty good stuff. They have a whole restaurant. Anyway, comment below. Let us know what you think about concessions. We'd love to hear it. There we go.
That's a fun poll.
It is a fun poll. I like that one.
Brian, and then next summer you can go around and you can sample each one and then do a report on it.
Absolutely. We're going to do that, man. God, put on a little poundage in the summer, whatever.
Maybe it's a job for Justin.
Yeah, let the youthful do it, man. Feed their face. It's hard to get rid of that stuff, man, especially when it comes to the wintertime. Oh, mercy. But we're going to talk a little bit because we did finish up over we did the one last big event there, the Battle of the Arch, or for the Arch. There's 2023s. There's still some folks uncommitted, and we put a thing here because it was interesting to me. Top 3 things still to do for an uncommitted 2023 player. Kevin, I don't. It's always a good thing to kind of give kids an opportunity. I think number one, personally, and this is, I'm sure you have the list, but is don't panic, right?
Yes. And you know what? I don't know if you saw my response to you when you gave me the thing, what my number one was. The best thing you can do to help your cause, and this isn't really just for seniors, it's really for everyone. Mm-hmm. And it is coach speak, but it is true. Take care of business in the classroom. Grades and academics, everything being equal. If I'm a coach, and mm-hmm. I was a coach for 16 years, the NCAA level, 11 at the Division I level, multiple at the Division II, multiple at junior college. If you got equal players or close to, guys that are really similar, you're going to take the guy with the better academics. They're cheaper. They're more of a sure thing. They're going to stay in your program. They cause you less problems. So that's one part of it. Number two, however many schools there are out there, you're able to go to more of them with higher academics. Obviously, the Ivy League's the elite of the elite. So that eliminates, 99% of high school players can't go to an Ivy League. I was one of them, obviously. Um, but and then it goes on down the list. Like, okay, you can't go to Harvard, so now who depending on where your grades are, so it just shortens your list. Now the other thing we're going to talk about is this all costs money, right?
Right.
So in baseball is a partial scholarship sport. It's not like football or basketball where everyone you see is basically on a full ride. Now there are a couple walk-ons, obviously, but those kids that are on scholarship are going to school for free. In baseball, at the Division I level, you get 11.7 scholarships, and more than about 50% of the schools aren't fully funded either. So not all of them have 11.7. And if we take
Can,
that a step further,
can
Division
I
Two has 9. Go
can I
ahead.
stop you real quick right there? And I want you to elaborate just a little bit on that, because I want people to understand, and I know you said it right there, but when you talk, you said 11.7, that's the max, looks like right there. But when the school is not fully funded, what does that mean, Kevin?
Well, that means they don't have the full allotment of the 11.7 scholarships. So there's plenty of Division Ones that are at 10 scholarships, 9 scholarships. There's some that are the Patriot League is Division One, but doesn't give out athletic scholarships, so they're at 0. So there's a wide ranging. Um, Obviously Mizzou is going to have 11.7 scholarships. All right, so the big boys, they're going to be fully funded, but there's about 300 Division One baseball programs. Less than 150 of them are fully funded. Then you go down to Division Two, that's 9 scholarships, and if Division One's not fully funded, I can assure you, you can believe that most Division Two schools are not fully funded. Um, Division Three, no athletic scholarships.
Right.
Now, junior college is probably the best at this. In Missouri, specifically, they're allowed 24 uh, scholarships. So there's a good amount there. And I've brought it up a number of times on this show. Every high school student should take advantage of the Missouri A+ program. It's a phenomenal program. You can attend any junior college in the state of Missouri, tuition free. Even if you're going to another school, you should do this. You never know. I had multiple guys in my time at Jefferson College come back after signing at a Division I school and come back for their sophomore year. They were able to go for free. I put them on scholarship, and then their housing's taken care of as well. So it just the better the academics are, the more opportunities you're going to have, whether that's the school itself or financially. That is the number one thing you can do to improve your chances of playing college baseball, in my opinion.
And going back to the A+ program, especially if you're talking about 2023s, looking at that route and really taking that because and I'm not quite sure, I'd have to remember, because I know my daughter did it, and I can't remember exactly. There are specific grade stipulations for the A+ program. Am I correct?
Yes, but it's not super high. It's more about doing like service hours and meeting a couple requirements. Yes, there is a GPA requirement, but it's not. You don't have to be, valedictorian to get this.
Right. I gotcha. So people just need to look at that and see what the requirements are to get to that A+ program.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you stop by your high school guidance counselor, they'll be able to take care of you.
There you go. I think it's interesting, Kevin, as you're bringing these things, when you talk about the amount of scholarships. And I think I think there's a lot of parents that go into this process really very unaware of what these are and the level of scholarships and what the money is, because we hear Division I all the time. We Division I, and there isn't, I think, a consideration to the player and where they're at this point in their growth, whether it be physically, athletically, or academically, and taking those three things into account when you're discussing that next level. Agreed?
Oh, 100%. Well, you're dead on that.
So when I think people when we talk about it, and I would parents comment below too on this. If you've been in this situation, it's always good to be help. If you got those kids, and I think parents in some of these clubs that could help with the younger ages, those 9 through 14. Really remember, as Kevin said, at the beginning, it's 6U baseball. Just have some fun. It's baseball. Remember that those age groups are there to learn, to enjoy, to play the game for the love of the game, and let those things come, right?
Absolutely. You're playing for two things: the love of the game and development. You play because you love the game. You want to keep it fun, and you want kids to enjoy baseball. And then also you're trying to develop them. The big picture is with the kid 9 to 14 years old, if he loves baseball, the goal should be develop him to the point where he can make his high school baseball team, not to win whatever 10U championship, and because it truly doesn't matter. Yes, you want to win. If you're on the field, you're going to play to win, and you want that winning is always more fun. But at the end of the day, the goal is to develop your player and put them in a position to exceed long term.
I think it's interesting. One of the greatest baseball players that we've seen in our generation never won a state title. And I watched The Captain about Derek Jeter here recently. And his high school career, he didn't win a state title. His team was very mediocre. And there you go. It wasn't anything. He had huge talent, right? And we see kids on teams with huge talent, but that doesn't always translate to winning that type of situation, right?
Yeah, baseball's the ultimate team sport. Whoever has the best player in the state, and we'll talk about that in shows to come, obviously, leading into the high school season, we'll identify those. That doesn't necessarily mean their team is going to be the best team in the state. It's an ultimate team sport. You obviously have to have great pitching depth. You have to have a catcher that can catch those great pitchers. You got to have a lineup that can score runs, and you got to have kids that can defend. So often, the teams that end up winning these state tournaments, the state championships, are a lot of times filled with small school college commits. You'll see a team that has like 7, 8 kids committed to JUCOs and D2s, and maybe one D1 arm, and those are the teams that win state. That quite often that's the recipe for having a state championship type team. Wow. You always want to take the talent. I'm not obviously saying the complete team is the team that you usually see come home with the state championship trophy.
I want to go on that direction, but we're going to stay on our topic here because my brain just shoots to things. But what's number 2 here, Kevin? What do you got for us, man?
Number 2, and again, this is going a different direction than the actual baseball part, is the weight room. If you want to get serious about playing men's college baseball, then you've got to become a man. You got to get in the weight room and get stronger. You can have a very high level skill. If you can't move the outfielders back when you hit, that's going to be an issue for you. If you can't, if your velocity is kind of stuck and stalled out on the mound, you need to get stronger so you can throw the ball harder, so you can run faster. One of my favorite things to tell kids is they call it boys high school baseball and they call it men's college baseball. And there's a reason for that. So you can play high school baseball pretty successfully as a boy. You cannot play college baseball as a boy. It does not work. Guys are too big, strong, and fast for you to be successful, no matter how skilled you are.
That makes
so
sense,
committing yourself
Kevin.
to the weight room is vital.
Yeah.
And it's partly what I do for a living. I go around and when I have my events, my showcases, and we test the measurables. That doesn't mean you're going to be a great player. Just because you have a high exit velo or you throw the ball really hard, that doesn't guarantee you're going to be a good baseball player. But if you do those things well, you have a much greater chance of being a good baseball player. There's no one in the big leagues that has an 80-mile-per-hour fastball. There's no one in the big leagues that has an exit velocity as a positional player of 80 miles per hour. They don't exist. Now, those guys are, 20, 21, 22 to 40 years old, or in Albert's case, 42 years old. So they're fully matured. There's a natural progression to this. But point being, the weight room is a massive part of the game once you get to the higher levels. Even in varsity high school baseball, the weight room's taken hold. So commit to the weight room. You will see massive development in your hitting, your pitching, your running, your throwing. Obviously I'm recommending you do this safely and correctly. We don't want any shortcuts there. There's a lot of great strength coaches in our area that you can seek out for private help there, or even at your high school. All these high schools have nice weight rooms now. Get in there 3-4 times a week and get stronger.
I love that thought process there too, because if you can go out and do a particular physical training, there is some great opportunities, as Kevin said, individual. But if you can't, if that isn't something your schools, go talk to your high school coach. Go talk to your high school baseball coach. Said, hey, coach, I want to get in the weight room. I guarantee you that coach is going to go, yes. Right.
We have certainly reached a point in time where every single high school is going to have a coach there. Now, it might not be your baseball coach, but if you go talk to your baseball coach, he's going to say, yes, Coach so-and-so is our expert. He's our guy. We're going to send them to you, and they'll be able to point you in the right direction to get get you on a good, safe plan, teach you the basics, the fundamentals, and this is a perfect time. We're heading, we have our last fall event, and then we don't do events for a couple months, and there's a reason for that. I don't believe it's the right time in November and December to do that type of thing in January, because what you should be working on is your development. And October, November, December, January into February, that's when you need to be getting after it in the weight room.
There you go. That's good advice, guys. Think about what you're.
And truthfully, it doesn't stop, but you kind of shift once the season starts into a maintain mode. You're still lifting, but you're not quite as aggressive as you are in the off season with it.
And that goes to the point. You're working to develop more athleticism, strength, balance, agility, those types of things, and the weight room and how you do that. That this is the time to grow those parts of your game, of your body. When you're not having to deal with playing every day, you can push yourself a little bit harder. You can push your body a little bit further, in these situations because you know you don't have to go out and swing the bat and play 5-6 games in a row. And I think that to me just makes sense. So the off season, that's when it is. Where are you missing in your agility, right?
Right. And it's okay to show up to your hitting lesson or your pitching, whatever, a little sore from lifting weights. It's all right. I get that you probably don't want to do that for the season opener for your high school season.
Right. Exactly. Like, oh, I don't know if I can run today, and it's 5 degrees.
Yeah.
Not a good recipe. All right, that's good stuff. So, what do we got? What are we finishing out here with Kevin?
And then the final one would be working on your individual skill. So obviously, if you're a pitcher, then you're doing your off season training. And with pitching, it's a little bit different. You can't throw, or I wouldn't personally recommend throwing bullpens year round. But there are things you can do. And again, there's a lot of great pitching development companies out there to find, or pitching coaches for lessons. With pitching, the weight room is obviously huge, but working on your craft, developing a changeup in the off season, working on that fastball command, developing a breaking ball, commanding your pitches as a hitter. Getting in there and working on your swing, developing. Now, hitting you can do year round or close to it. If you're committed, if you want to commit to it, then and see some gains, commit to it, and give it an honest off seasons of work, and obviously defense. Working on fielding, the infielder. You can take ground balls. There's infield drills, catching drills, etc. This is a great time of year for the next 5 months or so to hammer home that individual skill and skill work. And this is great because there's no fear of failure right now. You should be looking to fail. Honestly, you should be practicing and challenging yourself to the point of almost where you're failing, just because you've challenged yourself, and then you'll be stronger for it by the time your season rolls around.
I want to add to a couple things you said, because in what you said early on with the instruction and things like that, as you put together in that first thing, grades. A lot of these kids, there's a lot of smart people playing baseball, because if you're going to go to that next level, we talk about it, grades. So you see a lot of GPAs that are 3.5 and better. So it's not that the aptitude is not there to learn. And I think it's interesting when you start talking to instructors, the basic mechanics of things. A lot of kids, by the time they're in high school, have those pretty basic mechanics to fielding a ball, to swing and whatnot. And I think instruction is always great. How are you picking the brain? Because one of the things that I think is missing in a lot of what I see in high school youth baseball is just basic IQ. Baseball IQ. Where are you going to be? How do you start that? Are you really paying attention to what pitch is called? And I know if I've got a changeup and this guy is pull heavy, what's going on? And are we really focused in our intent on that skill? Because the mechanic is there. I'm going to be physically focused because I've dealt with the mechanic. But the other part is I don't believe we're as mentally focused and learning how to do that as much as we focus on the physical side. That's just my thought.
So I'm going to steal a quote from the great St. Louis baseball legend Rick Lessman, who was the longtime coach at Merrimack when they were a national power back in the 70s and 80s, and then went on to coach at Wash U, obviously one of the top academic schools in the country. So Coach Lessman pretty much covered both ends of the spectrum there in terms of academics, coaching at the junior college level and then coaching at probably a top 10 school in the country. He had plenty of high baseball IQ guys at Merrimack, And he would say, and when he got to Wash U, he would say, ACT scores do not translate to baseball IQ necessarily. So there is grades are important, but you also have to take time to learn the game and know the new nuances of the game. Hey, what a great month where we just came into. You want to learn the game instead of watching whatever stupid TV show you're about to watch. Turn on postseason baseball starting Friday. You want to learn some baseball. You got basically a month straight starting Friday where you're going to watch the highest level of it. And it's basically on every single night for the most part for
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah. And to your point, Kevin, you've got teams. You have 3 teams this year that have won 100 games in the Dodgers, Astros, and Braves. How do you not know that you're going to see something? And the tough thing is with the television coverage, it's a little tougher. But if you can find those opportunities where you can they do they on the other side where they have all the multiple cameras. I don't know how much they do that with baseball. I know they do it a lot with football, and they show the analytics and where the guy's moving and how the pitch, just the movement before a pitch. And today, you see the guys pulling the cards out all the time now, going, okay, I got to be over here and that's of course all analytics driven. But there's a reason for that, because I know how I'm pitching this guy. So as a second baseman, I know I can be here, and we see it today. And I think it's definitely why batting averages are down, because the guy hits it and he's standing right there, and you're like, dang, how'd that happen? Huh? Baseball IQ.
Yeah. Well, now, yeah, in professional baseball, especially, and in college baseball, the analytics have gotten hold, and so part of the baseball IQ is done by, and I say this lovingly, the baseball nerds in the front office, they're so smart and good at what they do. They have so much information and are able to have a high probability of where guys are going to hit the ball most of the time and how to pitch certain hitters and what to look for from pitchers. There are barely any secrets anymore, and these guys are giving the information to the players, and they put them on those cards. You see the guys pull out of their back pocket during the game to kind of get a quick glance, because those guys give them so much information, and it's the whole roster. So they're able to keep it straight with those little cards.
Absolutely. And I think coming back down to the high school level, this is where you can understand where you have to maybe put in a little bit more work, as you said, to the IQ, to maybe a junior college, maybe some of these smaller colleges that don't have this analytic department, that aren't like that. So how then do I translate that information myself? Where do I get a scouting report? Does my team have a scouting report? And how many colleges how many high schools present a scouting report?
So at the high school level, obviously scouting reports aren't going to be as prevalent. You don't play a team as much. Number one. Number two, there's less information to go off of. These teams in the big leagues have, in some cases, thousands of at bats, and certainly hundreds of at bats on lots of guys. So they got really good information. In high school, the player changes. A kid could be 160 pounds and weak one year, and then the next off season he's put on 15, 20 pounds of muscle, and now he's a different player. So the players change so quick. You play a team twice typically, maybe 3 times, or possibly 4 if you play them in a tournament and then the postseason. But you're not going to have enough quality data to go off of. You might have an idea if a guy's more of a pull hitter, or has a slower bat, that type of thing. But your data you're going to collect in that is not going to be nearly as reliable as what they're getting at the Division I, Division II, and big league levels. It's just not.
So for a young man in high school starting out his career that way, what are some of the nuances to baseball IQ that you suggest for these kids?
Yeah, like I said, watching the game, but having a great feel. Like baseball IQ comes into play a lot of times on the base pass. Having a feel, like can you do a dirt ball read, and almost are taking off before the ball hits the dirt, or as it hits the dirt, and on a breaking ball, where you can take an extra base there. Um, Knowing where your outfielders are positioned, and so you can go first to third or second to home easily. Knowing who has the strong throwing arms in the outfield, so maybe you don't go. Um, you got to know who you can challenge and who you cannot challenge. Defensively, um, being able to read swings, pitching, same thing. If you're playing, a lot of these schools will play teams back to back in conference, and you're the next day's pitcher. Reading the swings, knowing who you need to challenge with fastball, and who's just sitting on it. A dead red hitter that is going to swing out of his shoes first pitch every time. Well, that guy's you need to throw either a well executed fastball, or possibly a guy you drop in a first pitch changeup or breaking ball to. So things like that, knowing good running counts as a pitcher or catcher,
Yeah.
things like that's baseball IQ, and that's kind of as a catcher, does the base runner have the base stolen on the pitcher? So maybe you don't throw down to second or risk it going into center field. Or if there's a runner at third, maybe you're doing a full arm fake and looking at the runner at third. Things of that nature.
I love the one with the pitchers, because I think that I see a lot where there's a hitter can't catch up with the fastball, and they get in these two strike situations, and they believe they have to throw a changeup or a curveball because that's what you do. And boom, next thing you know, it's a base hit because the guy's you sped up his bat, for lack of a better way to put it. And boom, instead of staying with that fastball that he couldn't catch up with. And I think those are things in the understanding of it, and I see that all the time happening. That's one of the things I think, why'd you go away from your fastball? He couldn't hit it. Even if he did, he's going to maybe foul off. It may end up being a bloop, but for the most part, he couldn't catch up. And I think those are interesting things.
The goal is not to throw every one of your pitches every at bat. I'm a little bit from the old school on this belief. You're force feeding the fastball until proven otherwise. And obviously you got to know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
There's some kids that have to rely more heavily on the breaking ball because they aren't blessed with aren't a bunch of arm talent and high velocity. But you can still be highly successful with just a fastball. When I was a coach, one of my favorite scrimmages of the year, we do it at the beginning of each in the season, like heading into the season, we'd do a fastball only scrimmage. And usually the pitchers were highly successful. You just command the fastball. It can be used in a lot of different ways. The bottom of the zone, the top of the zone, inside, outside. There's an art to it. Adam Wainwright still strikes hitters out, throwing 88, 89 miles per hour with his fastball. So it can be done.
And just
So
using
learning to pitch with your fastball is vital.
the differences of two seam to a four seam, if you can master those things in the movement, and I don't think in the day and age of velocity, which I have no problem with, I understand what it is. We've kind of lost the art of pitching, and I think that I wish I would see more high school kids throw inside. Even if your fastball, as you said, even if you're that lower end guy with velocity, get it in on his hands. See if he can turn on it. See if that guy has the ability to get the bat head around with his hands to beat you on the inside with your fastball. especially if you've thrown a changeup away and pushing and doing, and don't forget about the inside of the plate, because you're hurting only yourself, in my estimation.
Absolutely, and it can be used to set up pitches and make certain pitches appear harder than they are.
Absolutely. And I think if that's baseball IQ on the pitcher's side, and hitting, the whole thought process is there. If you can take away one whole side of the plate, then I'm just sitting on a fastball away or in, and boom, I have you. And those are the things, the nuances of IQ. And where do you see maybe a few kids like that really have that thought process, and we talk about having a hitting approach when you go up. Am I going to take away this side of the plate? So I'm looking in this one spot, and if I get I know I'm hunting a fastball on that half of the plate. That's all I got to look for. And
but
right.
Baseball IQ for the hitter, I mean, my goodness, yeah, you can learn a lot before you're at bats by just watching. I mean, can the kid command a second pitch? If not, you sit dead red, and you take away. There's no point to worry about the changeup or the breaking ball if he can't command a second pitch. How quick is he to the plate? Does he have a big leg lift? If you get on first base and he's a 1.8 to the plate, you can steal second. Is he a one looker at second base, or does he mix his timing? Does he tip his breaking ball when he throws it with like flaring a glove or something with his elbow? You pay attention from the dugout, you can pick up a lot of extra hits when it's not your turn hitting by just watching.
I love this conversation. We're going to stop right here though, because we're out of time, and that's okay. But I want to come back to this, Kevin, as we go into the off season, because we're talking about. I love the top 3 things you brought to here with grades, with the workouts, with the IQ, and the things just working on your craft. So I want to come back to this baseball IQ, and hopefully, I'd love to get. And I talked to him at one of the events, but Adam Jansen from Ace Pitching. Love to get him on the show and talk pitching IQ and just talk about some of the nuances that he discusses and helping pitchers in that respect. I think that'd be a great conversation.
Be a great guy to talk to. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I like to bring on a lot of the different hitting guys. I like Jake Depew over at the Gators facility there. He does a great job. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just giving and talking these things, especially during the off season, giving kids an opportunity, hear from these guys. What are you saying? And then, hey, if you like what you heard, maybe you go over and say, hey, I need some help, Jake. Or Adam, or whoever the instructor you hear. I've always talked with Shane Eames is a really good instructor. He's done some great stuff with Braxton Martinez, and really done that. So we got a lot of guys around with a wealth of knowledge that can help these young guys understand the nuances of hitting, pitching, fielding. I really believe.
Absolutely.
So, Kevin, as always, man, thanks for dropping the knowledge.
You got it. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Comment below. Tell us what you think of the topics. We love to hear from you. We hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button. Hit that dinger, because that's what we do. And everybody now, we've lost the double part. Everybody's just going to dingers now, Kevin. So it's just dingers. Dingers for days. So, hey, hit that. Get your notifications. We do appreciate the support and hope that you enjoy YBMcast. Again, too, if you're watching here and you need to, we're on Spotify, we're on Spreaker. You can go to our website and just listen to the audio-only podcast. We're also on iHeartRadio. So if you're in the office and you can't watch, you can listen. Please do. We appreciate it very much. Kevin, have a great day, man. We'll see you next week. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters, Kevin,
hit them where they ain't.
There you go. We'll see y'all next time.